Happy New Year's, my friends. Welcome to 2022. Griffin, I thought it would be a great way to start off the new year by talking about our top 5 favorite baits for January. You cold or you just a pussy?
Both.
I see. So if you would like to join us and break down our top 5 baits for January, maybe a little bit of shit talking. Let's go.
No,
Let's do it.
do it.
Go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of Megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of OSP, Evergreen, Deps, Lucky Craft, Jackall, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of Megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of Megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com. All right, welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, aka the Tackle Otaku, being joined by my buddy Jeffrey the King. You thought I was going to say you, huh?
Yeah.
I saw you move. I saw you
I was
flinch.
getting ready.
There's this guy too, the Vato Rig King over here.
It's great.
Good job on that, by the way.
Yeah,
You've been
thanks.
smoking them on. It's the nut sack rig.
Yeah. The Vato
You can
nutsack.
call it whatever you want. It's the nut sack rig. 1v1 nut sack v Vato Rig challenge.
Let's do it.
All right. So happy 2022, guys. We're excited for, this is going to be an exciting year, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to catch so many more fish than Griff. It's not even funny. Don't you agree?
No.
Same page?
No.
We'll see. So let's break down our top 5 favorite baits for January. You're in a very talkative mood this morning.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you start? Why don't you start? Let's break the ice. So where do you start? So first off, this is kind of a crazy month because depending on where you are logistically in the country, there's so many different possibilities, right?
Yeah. So you got some people that are on hard ice. Some people are in that transition. Some people like us, like the water's still 60 degrees in most places here, so we really don't get like a ton of like cold water time, and it changes the way you fish, but it's pretty much just fall or spring fishing all year, like for the next like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and the bait selection is going to vary quite a bit too, based on if you're fishing largemouth, if you're fishing smallmouth, if you're fishing a big lake. It's going to be different than if we fish like an urban pond or smaller shore waters. Yeah. So, you know, we did our best to try to break this down into 5 baits that we really utilize a lot, and we will talk through the process with you guys if it's best from shore, best from a big lake, so on and so forth. So why don't you start, dude? What do you want to start with? I've got a mega pile of nonsense over here.
For January is the time where I'm gonna stop going to the lakes because I just hate the cold. It's still cold here, right?
Right.
And I hate it. Like, I can't do cold. I moved to Arizona because I hate cold.
I was teasing you.
Yeah.
I'm a mega pussy. I don't know why I'm not cold right now.
Yeah.
Normally I'm in a jacket, but I think I'm just looking good today. Right, Jeff? Yeah. So, as you were saying.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a lot of bank fishing, right? So when I hit the bank, I'm thinking shallow water, warm water still. A lot of these places that I fish, we have warm water discharges, and I could build a fire, so I'm staying warm and I'm not getting blown away by like 60-mile-an-hour winds on the boat. So all my stuff's gonna be shallow water based.
Okay.
Shallow water, light cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
where do you start?
So right now,
Is this where you're starting?
Yeah.
I just assumed this is where we were going.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So right now, I'm gonna start throwing the frog pretty heavy, and I'm gonna throw the Kaera.
So this is your frog of choice this time of the year.
Yes.
Why?
It's small. I can move it really slow, even in like the running water and the river and stuff like that. I can move it slow. The fish, they can track it really easy, and they'll eat it. This to me probably is the most bitten frog that I ever throw.
Okay.
So, and then right now, as the cover's dying, because it's still, the air temperature is pretty cold, but we know the water temperature is still in the 60s, the fish are going to start to spread out, and then they're just going to need a small target to get.
Yeah, and there's a lot of you in like the south, like, you know, when I talk to my friends in Florida and stuff, they're chewing a frog now because they're like in pre-spawn. You know, down south of us, like in Mexico, they're in pre-spawn, right? So, you know, a lot of the bigger lakes, it's coming into frog season as well. And a lot of you that are under hard ice are probably wondering what the hell we're talking about and dreaming you could be throwing these. But this is the time of the year for this. So I'm kind of in the same boat as Griff, but this is usually my frog of choice this time of the year. This has become almost my frog of choice all the time. But I like a popping frog this time of the year. The Buster K is my favorite one because I can fish it so slow. It can move and walk great, but if I just want to give it one pop and let it breathe, this is a great one because that rabbit hair on the back really kind of opens up and moves and quivers. So I think between these two, you pretty much accomplish anything you would need to accomplish with a frog.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right, good place to start, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent choice. All right, second bait.
So I'm probably gonna go with a jerkbait.
Okay.
I like the 110 Junior because I'm fishing in 3 to 5 feet of water. As the water cools down, it's still not cold enough to get this bait to suspend, so it's gonna float. It's gonna float pretty heavy. So I'm fishing in that shallow water. I can give it a couple twitches, and then it's just gonna float. I give it a couple twitches, it's gonna float, and I'm rarely ever gonna hit bottom, even if I'm in that shallow water. So the 110 Junior, you know, it still has that 110 action, which the fish love, but I can fish it in super shallow water, and it works really well.
And I think there's something to sail on that one, by the way. I think there's something to that float, right? So the mindset of so many anglers is they want a bait that suspends.
Yeah.
Right? And a suspending bait is really important, I think, a lot of the year. But when those fish are shallow, there's presenting them a floating jerkbait that has the movement and then floats back up is giving them a totally different look than what everybody else is giving them with a suspending bait.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself into only throwing suspending jerkbaits. Right? The spinning jerkbait is amazing when that's what they want, but that slow floating or even high floating jerkbait has a major role in jerkbait fishing, especially when those fish are shallow, because it just presents something totally different. It continues to move even when it's paused. And as that thing lifts up, you know, water is constantly moving, right? So, you know, when that bait's paused, it's not just sitting still and just boom, like a bobber.
Yeah.
It's getting pushed with the water and continuing to move on the pause. So it has an amazing trigger ability on that floating bait as well. I love a jerkbait this time of the year as well. For me, this is when, if they're eating a jerkbait in the shallow, colder water, this is when I love to throw something silent. So the Varuna in the Spec 2 is usually my jerkbait of choice. You could also throw the 110 silent, but I prefer the Varuna as a silent bait. I love the original 110, but when I go silent, the Varuna for me, just I have more confidence in it. They both are great. This is just an easy one to throw. It's weighted very simply in the middle. It's offered in a ton of great colors. And I like the silent because it just, I feel like the fish, even though they're shallow, they're a little bit more lethargic. They want to eat, but they're not super aggressive. So I can put this in some of our clearer, shallow water, and it's pretty non-intrusive. You know, there's no real sound to it. So, you know, I'm just getting the movement, and again, it's a slow float, and I like that slow float in the shallow water this time of the year. So, a couple great options, just depending on, you know, size and what you like, but good choice again, sir.
Yes.
Well done. All right.
You seem to be like pretty much in the same mindset.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is, to me, this is these first two, like, this is the funnest way to fish.
Yeah.
Because we can cover a lot of water. And usually when you get bit, it's a pretty good bite, right? So I think that's a great 1-2 punch for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, let's talk about some of our bigger, deeper lakes and staying kind of on a jerkbait-ish trend and talk about some shad baits, because this is the time of the year. I know you've been jacking them on some shad baits, and we talked about some of the shad baits last month and how this is the time of the year that they really come into play. Bless you, by the way. So talk to us. You all right there?
Yeah.
Okay. You allergic to shad baits?
Allergic to bullshit.
Allergic to winter.
Yeah. it's like 60 degrees.
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah. I get frostbite.
All right. Talk to me about shad bait and why and what you're doing with this thing.
Okay, so my favorite shad bait this year has been the High Cut DR right here. I like this bait because you can work it almost any way that you want. You're gonna have to figure out what the fish are eating, like how they're gonna eat it, but they're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Right? You just gotta figure out what action that they want. It's got a really tight vibration on it, so you can burn it. You can just do long, slow sweeps with it. You can do what you want, and then when you pause it, it's gonna have that slow float, but it's a super slow float. And it does the same thing. It'll just come up and just super slow float. And when they bite this,
yeah,
you gotta hold on to your rod.
So they're chomping it.
Yeah,
they're yanking it. There's no question in their mind that that's not bait.
Yeah,
that's a real shad to
yeah.
them. So where do you start? Because you said you could sweep, you could burn it, you could jerk it. So how do you figure that out? What's your mindset and your approach to figuring out what they want?
So I'm always gonna start with a long cast and really slow sweeps.
Okay.
I'm gonna work it from slow to fast. I'm gonna do the slow sweeps. If I'm getting like a couple bites here and there, I'm just gonna pick it up. I'm gonna do a faster sweep, and then if they're still not just getting a ton of bites, I'm gonna do like pops.
Okay.
Kind of like a jerkbait, but instead of the snap, it's gonna be a pull.
Okay.
It's gonna be a pull.
And that's just getting the bait to kind of swim and then stop.
Yeah.
Swim, stop.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if that's still not getting them, I'm gonna make the long cast and I'm just gonna burn it.
Just like a crankbait.
Yeah.
Just burn it as fast as you can.
Yep.
Okay.
Just gonna burn it, and then one of those ways they're gonna munch it.
Yeah.
And they're gonna like eat it.
Well, and I think that that's one of the important things about the High Cut. So there's a ton of different shad baits on the market, right? But the two shad baits that really are critically awesome for the burn is the High Cut and the Evoke shad. Those are the two that are built with a kind of a keeled weight at the bottom that you can burn and they will still track. If you try to burn a lot of shad baits, because they're so thin and so small, they'll have a tendency to roll. So like if you look at this High Cut, there is a weight at the bottom like all OSP baits have. The Evoke has a very similar thing to where it's gonna stay balanced at any speed. So, if you guys are just starting out in the shads, you can't go wrong with the High Cut, you can't go wrong with the Evoke shad, so either of those would be good options.
Yeah. And since we have the option now, the whipping technique has been pretty amazing for us.
So that's adding that whip sinker to the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Add the sinker, give it about 1.5 foot, a 2-foot leader, and now I'm fishing this in 30, 40 feet of water.
And are you changing your retrieve? Are you changing your sweeps and that kind of stuff, or are you doing the same thing?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna start slow, and then sometimes, like as you're working it, and then you just start to crank it in from down in the depths, they'll follow it up and just hit it.
How long of a leader are you doing between the whip sinker and the bait?
So you have to find like a sweet spot in there. So I found that like 2 foot would be the longest leader that I'm using, because when you're pulling that weight, the bait is sitting, like the weight will be here and the bait will be here.
Okay.
So you're pulling, and you might not always make contact with the bait. If it's a long leader, you're gonna have to do like a 10-foot sweep just to get contact
That makes
with the
sense.
bait.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you have to make it short enough to where every time you move it, the bait moves.
The bait moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes sense. So if you guys have any questions on that, we will make a shad video. Jeff, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Let's make a shad bait video. We'll walk you guys through exactly the baits and what we're doing. So stay tuned. We'll put that together for you guys, and that way you can really see a great breakdown on that.
Yeah.
Okay, while we're on the shad idea, this is a bait. This is a winter staple out here. For me, this is like a bluff wall must-have in the arsenal. Okay, so this is the Lucky Craft Stacey 90 version 2. Now this has been a staple in our winter box probably for like 20 years. It maintains its greatness in cold water. Basically the same idea is what you have with this High Cut. It is basically just a shad bait, but it's in a larger profile. This is definitely one that you want to sweep. You can just wind it in, you can twitch it, but this bait is so effective on a sweep if you guys are fishing anything where fish suspend on vertical structure. So bluff walls, cliff walls, maybe off of a ledge drop and they're suspended out off of a ledge. Anywhere where the fish are suspended versus, you know, laying on structure or sitting out deep, the Stacey is absolutely deadly. It suspends. It gets down to depth really, really well. This is a great one. I mean, honestly, if you make a long enough cast on light line, I'm usually throwing this on like 6 to 8 pound line. Really, really light. You can get this thing down into 15, 16 feet easily. If you really want to long line it, you can get it down to 18 to 20. So it's just a great bait for picking off suspended fish. So it's kind of my go-to shad bait. Although, if you keep catching them the way you're catching them, I'm gonna have to convert to your shad techniques as well. But either way you go, both great options for a true shad style for some deeper water versus the other jerk baits that we talked about for the shallow water.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, this is one of my favorite times of the year to try to get them on a glide bait. Now relax, Jeff. Okay, I'm not impeding into your territory here.
I know you're not.
I'm not going to pretend to be the glide bait master.
No, I know. I've seen.
Okay, relax. I don't know what that means. So, you know, you could take a guy like Jeff or a lot of you guys that are big swim bait fishermen, and, you know, you guys really invest in, you know, all these different baits and all these different movements, and you really commit to your craft with these bigger baits. A guy like me, I like to catch fish on all kinds of things. So, you know, there's no glory to me in catching them on any one particular thing. I want to catch them on whatever they're going to eat and what I'm going to have a good time catching them on. And this is just a time of the year where I have a lot of confidence getting a big bite in a moving glide bait. And this isn't just in bigger waters. This is in smaller waters, in ponds. So shore fishing, lake fishing, whatever. This is the time of the year that I like to mess around with this. Now, look, I'm not going to commit and die to this, right? Jeff can commit and die all he wants, right? So if they don't eat the glide bait pretty quick, I'm throwing a shad bait or whatever else I need to throw to catch a fish. But this is the time of the year where something in a glide bait type presentation is great for me. And the one that I'm really excited about, and everybody's been catching them really good, is this Baitsanity Explorer Gill. So normally, this is where I would break out like the bull shooter. So this is where I love to start throwing a bluegill type profile. What's exciting about this one is that it's kind of an in-between. It's a little bit bigger than the tiny bull shooter, but it's not as big as the full-size bull shooter. I'm gonna leave the big, you know, the mothers and the hinkles and all that stuff. Jeff can take care of those fish, right? I wanna get down and just utilize this bait. To me, this is kind of the same thing as my jerk bait. I can glide it slowly in shallow water and just kind of pick things apart. What's great about this one, this is the floater. It comes with these tungsten sticky strips, so you can weight it down to be a very slow sink or even suspend. And for me, that's perfect because I can fish it in a pond, I can fish it from shore, and if I get it snagged, it's not just going to be sinking down. I can keep it as a floater so that it pulls off, or I can rig it however I want to do it. Have you had much of a chance to mess with these guys yet?
Oh yeah, I throw this like every opportunity that I can. Cool. I have this tied on and it's not coming off for a while. Yeah. I'm gonna use this until spring. It's a fun bait. It's super like you can customize it any way you want. Like I said, it comes with the tungsten strip. Yep. It has these tails. It comes with 3 tails. Yes. And all of them are different colored. Yeah. So the box, here's a look at the bait in the box. It'll come, you know, rigged, but then it has a couple extra tails on the back as well. Yeah. Easy to take off. The tails stay in there pretty good. Unless you hit it on the mountain. Yeah. The tail's not coming off, right? Yeah, we'll avoid the mountains. Yeah. Plus you could add the paddle tail to it. Yeah, and it has a paddle tail. Yep. Like there's so many options. But even though this is the slow float version, you can get this down to like 5 feet when you're just bringing it in. Yeah, it dives down. Yeah, it gets down there. And then it has that option to customize the fall. Yep. It's a fun bait. It's small, but it casts well. I really like it. Yeah. It has a lot of good action on it. This is just the time of the year, you know, if you guys are fishing lakes where they're full of gizzard shad, trout, that kind of stuff, then I'm going to go with more probably a traditional glide. Slide somewhere 250, an Islide, a jointed claw, a hinkle, something like that would make more sense. But
if you guys are fishing smaller bodies of waters, ponds, if you're down south, where those fish are transitioning already into pre-spawn and maybe even spawn, you know, bluegill type profiles are just deadly this time of the year. So,
yeah,
you know, that's why this is going to be a really fun bait to throw over the next, you know, few months. So definitely consider adding that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and I know we talked about making this a top 5, but it's kind of hard to squeeze this into 5.
Yeah, there's so many things.
It's just such a strange time where
Yeah.
it could be so many different things. So, you know, I have a hard time talking about January without talking about a crankbait.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, you know, again, kind of getting back to the shallows, if you guys fish anywhere where there's any kind of grass, right, any type of water vegetation, those fish are going to find that as the water gets cold, and they are going to, it's almost like a magnet to them. So it could be grass, it could be, you know, weed beds, it could be cockleburs like we have in some of our desert lakes. They will find that vegetation and they will sit in it. The bait will sit in it, the fish will sit in it. And, you know, one of the best ways to pick that apart is with a crankbait. Chatterbait also works great in that. So if you guys want to throw a jackhammer or something like that, it's great. I just have so much confidence in a crankbait. So this is basically where we live this time of the year. And this is also the time of the year where you're going to start pulling out some of your red colors. Now, red works all year in some places, but as the fish really start transitioning into that pre-spawn, red becomes a very important color. So this is when I'm going to pull things out like the S Crank. The S Crank is an amazing bait for hunting, right? So it's going to kind of have a very hard vibration with no noise. So it's quiet, so it's not scaring anything away, but it's really pushing a lot of vibration under the water to draw the fish. It's a great one around grass. It's easy to rip out of grass. Just be cautious with the S Crank. Don't fish it around a lot of wood. Yeah. It will snag the shit out of anything it comes close to on wood. But if you guys are fishing aquatic vegetation or open water, it's great. The other one that I like a lot is the Spro Little John. We don't talk about Spro a lot.
Oh.
But the Spro Little John is probably one of, you know, it's been out, and I think most guys know about the Little John. I think it's still probably one of the better kept secrets in the crankbait world. So what's nice about the Little John is it has a great motion that they eat. It's a flat side crankbait, but it has this little rubberized tungsten ball. So it just creates this little, like, very low pitch sound. It's not loud and rattly like a LV500 or something like that. It's very low pitched, but they crush it. Do you like throwing a crankbait?
I do like throwing a crankbait.
What are normally your go-tos in this kind of realm?
So the S Crank 1-2.
Okay.
I throw that one a lot.
Yep.
I'm never throwing deep this time of year, so it's going to be something super shallow.
Yeah.
I will start transitioning to like more of a flat side.
Okay.
Here pretty soon. But my flat side bite is like 2 weeks out of the year, so
okay.
It's going to mean like square bill is where I'm going to live.
Okay.
Standard square bill.
Yeah. And if you guys fish ponds at all, Griff and I have done a lot of videos over the last year fishing from shore and from ponds using full-size crankbaits, and Jeff and I talk about this a lot. You don't always have to downsize just because you go to a small little pond. Like, those fish will eat the full-size crankbait. But if you feel like you just need a smaller offering, this is a great time also just to throw the little like LC 0.5. So it's a great little pond option if you guys are fishing like urban ponds or just really tiny water, smaller fish. This would be the great option from shore if you don't think they're gonna eat the full-size stuff. But honestly, if it's me, I'm throwing the full-size stuff. They're gonna eat that Little John or that S Crank just fine.
Yeah.
All right, so let's transition out of hard baits. Okay. Even though this is probably where we're gonna live the whole time. But there are a couple of soft bait options that basically are gonna stay tight on. They're almost tight on all year for me, but they're definitely gonna be important roles over the next few months. And the first one is an A-rig. So I love the A-rig. I have so much confidence in an A-rig, and this is just an amazing option if they are feeding on any type of bait in a school. So it could be shad, it could be herring, it could be schools of bluegill, it could be schools of perch. But if they are feeding on schools of bait, the A-rig is a really tough thing to beat. I know you've been diving down this rabbit hole this year.
It's very new to me, but I've been throwing it, and you know, I'm really enjoying it. It's getting bit, the bites are pretty gnarly on it.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun way to fish, right?
Totally.
Like you're fishing a school of fish.
Yep.
Like you're throwing 5 baits at a time out there. And
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Right? So, everything else that we've talked about today, as the person throwing the bait, we should be kind of imagining that we are that bait.
Yeah.
Right? So, up until now, we've been like one shad or one bluegill kind of moving through the water. And now we're the whole school of bait. So this is just a great option. You can fish an A-rig shallow. You can fish it deep. Typically for me, I'm just doing a 5-arm with 4 blades or 8 blades. I try to just mix and match my colors a little bit. This is the time of the year that I live on the spark shad. So as the water gets cold, the spark shad on A-rig is so money in cold water. It moves very slow, but it pushes a lot of water and those fish gravitate to it. So I'll bounce back and forth between 5-inch and 4-inch depending on just the size of the forage. If the bait's real small, I'll just go 4-inch all the way around. But if they're feeding on bigger shad, gizzards, like a lot of our fish are out here, I'll go with the 5-inch, and it just gives such a big push. So for sure, this is one I would add if you guys are fishing ponds or really, shallow water, or maybe you're in pre-spawn, the fish are moving up shallow already. Then another rig, I don't usually pull this guy out until like end of February, early March for us, when the fish really commit to the shallow water. But this is a rig made by Hog Farmer. It's called the Mop Deuce Rig. And basically the deuce, it just has 2 arms for baits. And then all these other arms up here are all blades, right? So you spread this guy out, and it basically just looks like a mob of bait swimming through the water, but it's so light because there's only 2 artificials on it. You can fish it like a spinnerbait. So you can throw it around bushes and keep it really high, and it's just a great option if you guys need an A-rig that stays higher in the column. So definitely give it a try if you guys haven't put A-rigs into the arsenal. This is a great time of the year to play. It just lets you think differently while you're throwing that versus just a single jerkbait or crankbait.
Yeah. When you get your mind into the mindset of like the bait, fishing becomes so much more fun.
It's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you can't see your bait. It's 10, 15, 20 feet down in the water, and you're just like, what's it doing right now? Like, and when you start thinking about it, you start doing like these weird movements and stuff.
Right.
Like on the bank, and like.
So that's what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you're always just trying to picture what the bait's doing and what's going to get the fish to react to that bait.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun.
Yeah, and that definitely helps. So think like the bait you're putting in the water. Make yourself that shad or that bluegill or that school of bait. Yeah. All right, and then finally, we had to do something soft plastic.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, this is like all right, nothing else is working, I'm going to just go catch them.
Yeah.
Is that how you end up here as well, or?
Yeah, so you're doing everything in your power to avoid throwing a drop shot or a Ned rig, right?
Right.
So,
oh, yeah.
Right?
Really?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Weird.
You still don't love the Ned?
No.
Weird.
So you're doing everything in your power. So I'm going to go with the Dolive Beaver. I'm going to go with the 4-inch first.
You
I'm going to start big, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to throw it on a free rig.
Free rig junkies over here.
Yeah. Except for I'm going to move it a little bit slower.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to do.
So why the 4-inch?
I want to start bigger. I think that these fish are kind of getting into like their winter mode, so they're trying to like eat as much with less energy, right? So they want these bigger meals. So I'm gonna start with the 4-inch. I'm gonna move it a little bit slower. I'm gonna do my shorter hops with it, and if it doesn't get bit, I'm just gonna downsize to a 3.5.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I also live on the Beaver. I prefer the 3.5-inch size for no reason other than you got to start somewhere. Yeah. I guess. And this is just my confidence, and I guess I feel that if they're not eating my fast stuff, like I've thrown the 3.5 so much that I know exactly how it moves and how to pick something apart. So for me, this is just a great crawfish imitation. Everything else we've talked about up to this point has kind of been a shad or a bluegill type, some kind of bait fish. Whereas this now will kind of give me my crawfish imitation. So if they're just not chasing and they're just hunkered on the bottom, or maybe I'm fishing a river or some current, I really just need to pick one seam apart or one little eddy apart and slow the whole process down. Free rigging a beaver, I have so much confidence in doing it. You can do it from shore, you can do it from a boat. It's just so versatile. So, something something in here, whether it's 3.5 or 4. Either way, I usually just go with the green pumpkin color. So, you know, something like this, green pumpkin chartreuse. Griff whips my butt on this stupid dark cinnamon blue flake.
027.
Yeah, so, you know, whatever color you guys need to go to, if they're goby eaters instead of crawfish eaters, something with this blue flake would be a great idea. But it's just a great thing to have in the arsenal. It will stay in your arsenal probably year round. It's kind of, it's pretty much always tight on, I would say, for us anymore.
Yeah, it just gets bit.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's fun. Yeah. So, yeah, so give that a shot. If they're not eating the hard bait, this is a great way to slow down and not be bored out of your mind, because it still requires you to manipulate the action and move the bait and get the bait to fall right. You still have to really be focused and paying attention. It's not like just a boring dragging a drop shot or Carolina rig around. You know what I mean? It's
more
exciting. Exactly.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. So that's the biggest key, right? It's cold outside. You know, some places, I was talking to someone the other day, he said he's fishing in 28-degree weather.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not going outside in 28-degree
right.
weather. Like,
yeah, I don't want to go out in 60-degree weather.
I'm calling in sick. Like,
look at Jeff, so disappointed in us. We're hardcore, Jeff.
No, I'm not trying to
We're
see
grinders.
Springtime grinders.
Yeah, there's a reason why we have heaters.
Yeah, so the
and
cold,
roofs and walls.
The cold's miserable, so you got to find a way to catch fish first, but have as much fun as possible. Because you're not having fun while you're out there.
Then all you're thinking about is how your fingers are about to fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that is a wrap. That is our 5-ish. I don't know how many baits we just talked about, but those are our favorite baits for January. That's what we always have tied on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, sir.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go start 2022 out with a bang and start catching more fish. Maybe we should start a fish count.
A fish count?
Yeah. A Ben Griff fish count.
Sure.
You sure about that?
Yeah. You can go as many days during the week as you want.
Congratulations, you've already won before we've even started this competition.
I'm going to beat you next week.
I don't like the way this is going. All right. On that note, guys, thank you so much for staying. You two are an evil team. You know that? All right. It is on. Okay. What? No shaking my hand? I want to feel that soft skin, Jeff.
Nope.
Okay. Guys, if you have questions or anything, drop it down below in the comments. Jeff will leave links to all the baits that I'm going to kick Griff's ass on down below. And guys, thank you for the support and the business. You fuckers laugh all you want. I'm out of here. I'm going right now. Peace.